Bob Suter was if you looked up ideal teammate in Wikipedia, there would likely be a picture of Bob Suter. He was the guy that you wanted to go to war with, the guy that you wanted in your foxhole. He would back anyone at any time. He would tell it like it is. He was fearless, humble, confident, and most importantly, he was probably the most selfless player that I played with. And I think the 2 weeks in Lake Placid in February 1980 were the perfect example where Bob didn't play a whole lot compared to some of the other defensemen, but he was always the first one off the bench to congratulate guys after a goal, or the goalie after a terrific game, or whatever the case was. There was no I in team in Bob Suter's vocabulary.
Oh my God. So he and I used to butt heads because he went to Wisconsin, and the first year of the sports festival where they included hockey was out in Colorado, and he was on a different team than I was on. He knocked one of my teeth out. And that was after we'd played against each other. And, you know, he went to Wisconsin, I went to Minnesota. And he just knew how to get underneath a player's skin, and that's what he was really good. One of the things he was really good was taking them out of their game, and regarding me, he was masterful with that. And then he gave me the nickname Ricky. If he was here in this chair and you'd ask him he'd call me Ricky, because I reminded him of a former teammate that he played with in Wisconsin, and then they used to call him Ricky. But he was a guy that you hated to play against, but when he's on your team, you know you want him on your team because he'd go to battle with you. You knew if you're in battle, he's on your side every inch of the way. Just a phenomenal human being. And I'll be honest with you, what he did for youth hockey, I was not anywhere closely aware to how much he reached kids. And I found that out when I went to his funeral. He had a huge impact on youth hockey in Wisconsin.
One of the best teammates you could ask for. He was a competitor, tough guy to play against. He was at Wisconsin playing for the Badgers, always in your face, just a competitor. And once he was done playing, it was all about the kids and making sure to help kids growing up in Madison have a place to play and have a mentor and somebody that they can count on. But yeah, a great teammate and competitive. And I always remember that beet red face when we were on the ice. Anytime we were on the ice skating, his face, he would flush like he had never skated in he hadn't skated in 2 years.
Well, I've got a number of memories of Bob. The first one is playing against him. I mean, there was no tougher guy to play against than Bob Suter. He would do anything to win. He was that competitive, and he wouldn't care if you talk about slashing or cross-checking or anything. It didn't matter. He was going to win, and he was going to win whether it was the personal battle or it was the on-ice battle of everybody or it was the game battle. Bob was going to win. And he always seemed to have this little kind of smirk on his face looking at you like, what are you going to do about it? And I know there's great stories of Bob playing in Madison and that, but I had the opportunity, played against him in Madison and also when Wisconsin came to Duluth. And he just was such a competitive player, and just a guy that you love to hate, kind of the guy that you say, God, I hate playing against that guy, but you'd also say, man, I wish I had a guy like that on my team. Well, then we did have a guy like that on our team, and Bob, soft-spoken, would be, could really be like sarcastic, again with that little smirk on his face where like if he questioned anything you're doing, he'd kind of make it into a sarcastic comment or a joke, but you knew what he was getting at when he said it to you. If you didn't think you were, you didn't think you were carrying your weight or you needed to play hard or whatever it was, never in a, hey, I'm better than anybody else, but that's just what he expected out of everybody else. He would come to anybody's defense at any time, and he was one of those guys when you played with that, again, I talked about earlier about having players and matching up with players on other team and saying their guy's better than our guy. You'd say that about a lot of guys about Bob Suter, but when Bob Suter, you had him on your team, you knew having him as being part of that team that your team was just better because of that, because Bob was playing with us. And I can say those two things, and I can also say knowing him past hockey and what he did for hockey in Wisconsin. I mean, nobody was a bigger fan of Wisconsin hockey than Bob Suter, and he touched so many young players' lives and inspired young players to want to be better players and to keep going at hockey. And I know there was, and many people would tell you in Madison and in the Wisconsin community that there's a guy that did as much as anybody for the betterment of Wisconsin hockey, because that's how much he loved it. He lived it, and he wanted kids to enjoy it. He wanted kids to be good.
Good guy. Wasn't fun to play against. He always had that little smirk on his face because he was always up to something. Always red in the face. Always red in the face. And I'm not talking if you're skating. He was always getting red in the face. He had a smirk about him, and you always knew he was up to something. But good teammate, solid person, fun to be around.
Bob was a good guy. I'll tell you, to me it meant a lot. It meant a lot to know the guys on the team. A man who's always got your back. He's with you all the time. Likes to go out and have some fun, like the rest of us. Since 1980, I kept in contact with him all the time, every year. And miss him a lot, but I'll tell you, he was one heck of a guy. I'll tell you, he's a special man, and nice family, and he's probably, I would think, epitomizes a whole team. I mean, just a humble guy, loyal, I mean, all the things you'd want in a son, I would think. He's a special guy, to me he was anyway.
Suits, just a great teammate. Just a guy that when you win with people like Bob Suter. He didn't play a ton in Lake Placid, but yet he was so important to our team in the locker room. When he did play, he was somebody you could rely on. He was a playful son of a bitch. I mean, he was always kind of a shit disturber in practice. But again, just a great teammate. He understood his role, accepted his role, never bitched, never complained, and when he went out and played, he played hard all the time. Very selfish, unselfish player, I should say. I mean it that way. Just was the ultimate teammate. When you look at teams that win championships, you have Bob Suters on your roster, and I know he'll be missed clearly by our team, but more by the people of Wisconsin and what he did for youth hockey and for all the players, boys and girls, in the state of Wisconsin, and especially in Madison. But when I think of Bobby, I just think of a guy. You see that little smirk, that smile. Kind of an Eddie Haskell kind of a guy, always in the mix, always causing some trouble here and there, but somebody you could rely on if you really you needed a friend or somebody to be around, it would be Bobby. And the other great thing about him is we'd go to functions and he never changed his way. He'd be in work boots and jeans, never dressed up, would be in, and I don't dress up, but I'd be maybe in the slacks and a golf shirt, and suits would be in work boots and jeans and a flannel shirt. He was very true to who he was, and that was the great thing about him. He was a man's man.